Welcome back to another episode of Recruiting Essentials here at Prep Baseball. I'm your host, Shooter Hunt, Vice President of Scouting at Prep Baseball, joined today by one of my favorite people in college baseball, Carl Lafferty, recruiting coordinator at Ole Miss, an Ole Miss lifer. Laff, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. Thanks for the kind words.
I have to tell you, like the first time I met you, and you probably won't remember this because I was a nobody. I'm at Tulane. Jake Coach was like, you got to go to this camp, Zachary High School. There's a showcase. I don't know who was putting it on. So I drive. I just gotten done playing pro ball. I drive over like in my uniform, camped out. I have no idea what to do. What am I going to do at this place? And I get there, and there's a bunch of like, mid-major type coaches. And up walks the Ole Miss coach. And all the kids have no idea what to do. Oh, we got to like kind of go to the bullpen. And you just took over and led the show. And it was one of those things, and I'm sure everybody has as a young coach, like, hey, that guy kind of showed me what to do. Like, this is how I should be. So I'm forever grateful to what you did in that moment. And it's why you're one of my favorites.
Man, it's funny that I actually do remember that. That was such a different time frame because it was when we could go out and go to camps and do different things, and there weren't so many, I guess, restrictions or rules in place. I hadn't thought about that in a long time, man.
Oh, you're so good in the bullpen. Like, just watch, because it's hard when you get done playing to how do you actually coach and like teach somebody? It's something that you've done now. Like, you've been at Ole Miss for 18 years as a coach. Like, it's hard to go from, hey, I can just do this. I can just do this to how do I teach this to an 18-year-old? It's one of those fascinating things you have to learn as a coach. And I'm sure you've done it for forever.
Well, yeah, and I have a pretty good mentor. I think back in the day, if you knew anything about, Mike when he worked for Skip, they were the masters at going to places, speaking, talking, doing camps, clinics. So that's kind of the way I grew up, and I started learning that just when I was a senior in college, working Ole Miss winter baseball camp. So I had a pretty good teacher.
And you talk about, of course, Mike Bianco, who's the legend from his playing days at LSU, which I swear I see him and Ben McDonald playing catch on every broadcast, which is always fun. To what he's done there in Oxford, of course, with the national championship, especially in 22, which we'll get to here in a second. But you played at Ole Miss, and there's something special. And I was going through your playing days, which you have to tell me if this is right. Did you really only strike out 2 times your senior year?
Well, that's probably close to correct. But if you this was, hey, way before Synergy, True Media. I knew that the best way not to strike out was to hit the first pitch they threw. So I was on swing when I got in the box. That helped out. I probably could have been a little more selective. Clem would probably crush me on my swing decisions. But we were using some hot bats back then. I got a little help.
But come on, you had 2 strikeouts in over 200 at bats your senior year, catcher, which was Coach Bianco's first year, which
Right.
I'm sure he has a soft spot for you, your captain. Like, what better? This guy never strikes out. He's a catcher. He does it all for us. You must yell at your guys all the time. Like launch angles. Who cares if they got 90-mile-an-hour sliders now? I only struck out 2 times my senior year.
No, I am very well aware that I couldn't play for Ole Miss. Like if you took Carl Lafferty, what he was back then, physically, I could not compare to these guys. And I laugh about it. I laugh, Carl Nunemaker played at Vandy when I was playing here, and we always talk about it. Like, I mean, the kids that we recruit now are so much more physically advanced than we were. I had slider bat speed with the best of them. If you threw it like 92 or harder, you were blowing me up. So the best way not to punch out is like, okay, man, if you spun me a breaking ball or threw something first pitch I could hit, I was letting it eat. So it's kind of crazy how things evolved over the years.
Yeah, but the strike zone back when we were going wave, super wave, whatever it may have been, you're
Oh
like
yeah.
10 inches off the plate for you. So I'll be the one who defends you old bucks and how good you actually were. um,
Uh, we'll see.
so you go Coach Bianco's first year. There's something about like coaches in their first year coming in, and you have
Mhm.
those old guys that transfer, and especially it's tough to get guys to buy in, right? He was with the old staff. This guy comes in. You obviously did. You become team captain at Ole Miss, had such a great time there. Then you come back after going professional to coaching there, and you've been in Oxford. I mean, for almost a quarter century. Like I don't want to date you
Yeah.
there, but like almost 25 years. It must mean something special to you to be there at Ole Miss.
Uh, yes, as I would say, it was a hairline ago. I am a lifer. I am one of the fortunate guys in college athletics that's been at his alma mater, and I think people ask me the question about that all the time, and certainly from a lifestyle, familiarity, place to raise kids, Oxford's a great place. But as anybody knows, the best part of a life or what you do is day to day the people that you spend it with. So I've been able to wake up and work for a guy that not only is he good, is he talented, he's been successful, but he's an awesome person, a guy that I really respect and a guy that I really trust. And then side by side with, like particularly now, Mike Clement, who's one of my best friends, Cliff Godwin, who is literally my best friend. Like we are still very close to just this day. The godfather of my kids. Like
Mm.
I have had such a fortunate run in the office that I work in being filled with not only great baseball guys, but great humans. So that's makes it easy to stay here.
And it shows up in your teams, just like the way that they play on the field, the way they go out there, and obviously playing for Coach Bianco, an absolute legend. Shoot, I can still remember him giving that speech post 22 CWS, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'd vote for you for president today. Like, it's done. Like, just go do it. Yeah, like whatever you have." But it shows in those teams, and I mean, this is recruiting essentials. It shows even more in your recruiting classes. You guys have a national brand, which, I mean, let's be honest, like a kid from California or from New York going to Mississippi, like that's a whole different world. But you guys have almost made things a destination there at Ole Miss and Oxford. How did that come to be?
No, it's a great question. Oddly enough, I mean, I think it starts with the success and what Mike built here, just in the wins and losses. Um, Obviously, through that, you get some recognition around the country, and kind of word of mouth spreads between teams or travel organizations or junior college coaches or whatever it may be. But oddly enough, we also have a great productions team here, and they put out a lot of great content. And
Mm,
over the years, as things changed, as um, ESPN, the SEC network, streamed or broadcasted more of our games. It became more commonplace for kids on the West Coast or even the Northeast to flip open their phone and be able to watch an Ole Miss game and go, "Holy cow! Like 10,000 people are showing up to this facility to watch this team play." And so as you move along through that, it's just the compounding factors that hopefully once kids get to know us, make this place a school that they want to go to.
especially when you got baby blues and beer showers going on. I feel like that's the key for me. That would have me going
Sure.
to Oxford for sure. But even more so, your recruiting has been so good, high level. I mean, top five every year. It's like, oh, this kid's going to Ole Miss. He knows what it looks like. There are even guys that didn't make it to camp, like Jackson Jobe. I think back, like Cade Horton was like a
Yeah.
two-way football guy, but you guys were on that super early, and you identified talent very early on. But you guys do a good job. We do well with this and developing it. What are some of the things that are must sees for you at a ballpark, especially with a younger player who wants to be recruited?
No, I think it's a great question in this day and age because recruiting, and it's even one that I've had to learn. And a lot of times on recruiting visits now, I'll share this with kids. Certainly there's a talent floor. Obviously, um, every athlete that we recruit has to have a certain level of ability. But I think we've got to do a good job of finding kids that fit us and that we fit them. And the coaching style that we have here, where it's a ton about culture, it's done about makeup. Those are the things that we try to vet and figure out. And I say that because this climate in athletics or college baseball has changed so much with the transfer portal, with NIL, with rev share, where you can kind of get that business like feel to it. And certain programs are probably lean more that way, which I, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to win, and there's a lot of very successful programs that lean that way. So I don't mean that in a negative light, but I think we have to understand who we are, not only from the brand of baseball that we play, but from the type of kid that we recruit. So once they get in here, there's real buy-in. There's a real connection with us as a staff, with Mangrum and Clem and me and Mike B, that they get it. And the thing that people often ask me, they go, "Hey man, what makes Mike Bianco so good?" And I think people look for the magical baseball answer. Like he's super structured. He's a wonderful CEO. But the thing about winning in our league, and we were just talking about a few minutes ago before we flipped
Mhm.
this on, everybody's talented and everybody's good. Just go around it. The key is, can you get your kids to show up and play the next day? Meaning, um, you just got walked off the night before and you feel gut shot. Can they show up and can they compete? Hey, we've just won 3 or 4 in a row and we feel really good. Can we make sure they're not comfortable and show up and be ready to compete? Because the margin is so thin and every win in our league matters so much. So when you start talking about that kind of performance and building a program that way, it takes a specific type of kid. And so for us, there's a few things that we look at. And again, our roster, because of the state of Mississippi, like we always talk about, the state of Mississippi is around 2.7 million people, and there's more people like in Pinellas County, Florida, than our entire state. So we have to go outside of our borders. So you look for some common themes. Again, with talent being the floor, you're looking for kids that you filled up or you feel are wired up the right way. They're baseball rats. They have some edge, some competitiveness. They love to play, and that genuinely they're good kids. They're 18 to 22-year-old guys. I'm not saying they're always going to make the wisest decisions, but genuinely, when you start, talking to the people around them, or you have conversations with them, it shines through kind of what kind of character they have.
What so like you talk about good kids, right? Everybody wants to get, hey, good guy, good kid on campus. Is that something you can kind of see at a game? Like, are there little things like just the way he's tucking in his shirt, or the way he gets in the box, or gives a hard night? What are the things you're looking for from that standpoint?
You can look at the way they play the game, like the effort, the intensity, the energy. I think one of the things is, if you notice, there's a lot of recruiters that'll stand down the lines, especially when you can look into a dugout and see how kids react to certain things that have gone on. A lot of times, like if it's baseball, guys are going to have bad nights, bad outings, bad games. Sometimes you see more in the bad side of it, in the way they handle it, the way they react, the way they interact with their teammates, their body language as they go out on the field. Um, that will tell you a lot more, because let's face it, like, we're not recruiting bad players. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And the biggest thing about, especially the Southeastern Conference and baseball in general, is how do you deal with failure? How do you bounce back once it hasn't gone your way? How do you handle, oh my gosh, I made an error last night. We lost the game and I've got 20 direct messages telling me I suck. I think that's probably one of the things that kids don't realize when they jump into our league, maybe from coming from high school, is like, hey, it's kind of, when I said the big boy league, like there's, as we tell our kids, 10,000 people don't show up to watch you suck. Like they're here to watch you win. So there's just a lot more on their plate from that standpoint, in how they're built and what their mental makeup is, I think is what allows them to perform once they get to college.
It's and even just the stressors that you can see from the high school level. I think of like an 8 a.m. game at Lake Point. Like, it's hard to get up
Yes.
for this when you're 16 years old and you're on the road, you're at a hotel, and you guys were probably doing whatever last night. Can you get up for
Yep.
that? How do you prepare? Or, hey, there's a rain delay. It's 11 o'clock. You got to finish up strong. This still matters. Carl
Yeah.
Lafferty's still waiting around to watch you. How do you respond? It's
No,
so important to have that.
no, I agree. And it's funny, you were talking about some of the good players that never got here. One guy comes to mind with that, Slade Caldwell.
Hmm.
Like, ended up going in the first round. You go, oh, laugh. Hey, he was a first rounder. Yeah, but if you look at, hey man, he was a really undersized kid. But if you're a baseball guy and you watch him play and see his motor every single game, I think that really shines through. And like, that's the best example of what I could say.
When we do a lot of stuff from our ranking side, like a lot is prospect driven towards the professional aspect. But throughout our entire process, there's a lot of guys. Hey, I really like this player. I like the
Mhm.
the upside of him. And then even to your point on the SEC, hey, I think this guy can handle 12,000 people booing him.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to go from a random high school in North Jersey like I went to, or hey, maybe 50 people at the game, to hey, we just lost our first two at home, and we're going to get swept here unless you have a good at bat. And if not, they're going to let you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And sometimes you just can't know. I think that's the hardest thing for us as a recruiter. There's nothing that's going to, simulate that before they get here. So you just kind of learn from actually what happens. And so that's the hardest thing. I think if we, as recruiters, if we had a crystal ball and we could figure that out, um, man, we would be worth a lot of money. But sometimes you don't know how a person's going to respond until they get into that environment. So you're just trying to kind of hedge your bets on the things that you feel like are the biggest indicators of them being productive and good and figuring their way through that. So if you got a kid that loves to work,
Mhm.
if you got a kid that plays really, really hard, that looks like he's very competitive, then those are usually, not always, but usually the earmarks of someone that can persevere and perform in that type of environment. So I think that's, when you really go start looking at makeup and you're trying to dig through things, that's why it right at the top for us.
Now, I said you guys have recruited at such a high level. You do a great job with freshmen balancing stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the portal here in a little bit. Tell me about, especially the future games. You guys have done such a great job at our prep
Mhm.
baseball future games because you do go outside your borders. You protect state lines, but you're also able to go to Florida, Georgia, up in the Northeast, Midwest, especially. You've had some success there. What is the future games like for you, and how do you recruit it? How do you get it done?
Man, it is such a good event. It is you have all uncommitted kids, and in this day and age, like we talk about it being the shotgun start of recruiting, yeah, that
Mhm.
August 1. So it's a huge event for us. And so like last year, um, we have three guys there, me, Mangrum, Clem. And the way we kind of call it out is, again, we get a plan with the states, rosters, things that we know. A lot of times we'll put Mangrum, up in the tower because he's the pitching guy.
In
You
the
can run
data.
through, yeah, and so he can run through and he can be cruising around, that tower, watching arms, being able to look at that, bounce back and forth. And me and Clem can go sit on different fields, and there's just a running text message of us communicating throughout the day, like, hey, I like this kid. Come check out this at bat. Like, or Mangrum, like, hey man, I really like what I see on this arm. Cruise over here and look at it. And that's how all three of us. I mean, because recruiting now, it's not just like I'm the recruiting coordinator by title, which I just handle the paperwork. Um,
Oh boy.
but like it's a team effort. I mean, it's not only Clem and Mangrum, it's Mike B as well. Like he has a huge piece in that. And I think for any staff in our league, it's an all-inclusive thing. And um, like everybody always says, I mean, we can be as good of coaches as we want to be, but you can't win the Kentucky Derby with a mule. You've got to get some good players.
Exactly, and like even to that lead up, you talk about the shotgun start with that August 1st. Things have pushed back. What is your preparation like for that? And we have a lot of recruits listening right now. Parents like, I'm a 2028. I can't talk to these guys. Do they even know about me until August 1st? Right? Is that the first time they see me? It sounds like no. Like, how
It,
early are you guys getting some names on?
Well, it's actually super hectic because right up until that event, like if you look at what we're dealing with, we have that 1 month portal window where we're all
Mhm.
trying to put that together. You have the draft that's coming up like
Cool.
right there. And so the hard thing is you're always going to work or care about what's right in front of your face. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to make sure we have the best roster we can in the middle of August for that coming year.
Oh
And
yeah.
again, we're working on kids that are 2 years away that are rising juniors when you start talking about, the futures games. But it's something that it's been new. It's been a new system, a new formula, a new recruiting calendar. But like the big thing for me right now with some of these 28s is I'm going to try to go out and see some more of these 28s. So they've seen my face and known that, hey, man, they have been on our radar. I think one of the things that we're trying to do is, get some invites out to these kids at camp,
Mhm.
just to give them an early look at us because we are limited in, communication and we can't rewind back to the season if they ever decided to show up at a game. But I think we're going to be a little bit more calculated in trying to do some things with 28s through this coming spring, hopefully to get Ole Miss on their radar. So when we get to that point and we get to August 1, that we've hopefully made some inroads with creating interest.
You're being way too modest. Ole Miss is on everybody's radar. All the kids want to go to these schools, especially in the SEC. But I do find it really important. And we've talked about a lot on these shows with the college recruiting coordinators. It's important for you, like you talked about that window short. You have the transfer portal there, and we're just almost playing catch up all summer.
Yeah.
But you go into things with some knowledge. You're not walking in blind. You have
Right.
guys who are looking for stuff. You're picking things off of Twitter, Instagram. Oh, Prep Baseball ran this winter event. This kid from Mississippi. Oh, Alabama had their preseason. This guy looks really good. I like this arm. Circling him. Wow, we're going to Tuscaloosa March 18th. Maybe I'll shoot over to Oxford to watch this guy, Oxford, Alabama.
Mhm.
It, it's really important for those recruits to like get this stuff out there, because when you finally come up for air after Omaha national championship, after you've signed all your portal guys, you've seen what the draft is, you need to know this guy's pitching on field 12 on July 26th. I need to see him, because the guy
Yeah.
on field 10 I don't know about. I can't waste time over there.
Correct. And kind of it starts with obviously your in-state kids and then spreading out to the areas that you've had success in or places that you've created good relationships with coaches. But to your point, like I always laugh, like social media, like I have social media, Instagram and Twitter basically to see what baseball content's going out there. Like what PBR video is going to show up of this guy hitting, a home run or throwing a pitch. And hey man, I can see delivery, but it's crazy. But those are the things that kind of they'll bring names to light. It'll
Mhm.
cause a recall where you go like, hey, that kid in Alabama or that kid in California or that kid in Texas, like, hey, I need to touch base. I know so and so over in that area. Maybe I should shoot them a call or a text about this kid. And it gets them kind of, on our list, so to speak, of the guys that we really try, because that's the thing. There's three of us over there. You at the futures games, there's so many good players. You can't see every guy every second. Like it's impossible. You could
It
have
kills me.
yeah, I mean, especially, but I think we do a good a job of any as divide and conquer and having a plan and mapping things out. And again, I think if you're going to truly recruit somebody, you have to spend time, energy, effort on them. So you can't recruit 400 kids. Like for us, you start looking at that call sheet on August 1 and it's could get 60, 70, 80 kids. And then you start whittling down, okay, who seems like they really have interest, who are the higher ones on our list, and then you just weave through the fall with visits, narrowing it down to the commitments that you have and all the way into the next year. So
How should a kid
um
show that he has that interest? That's like the one thing. And you talk about out of state. Like I've had some kids that are super mod. Hey, where do you want to go to school? And they'll just be kind of coy, like, oh, I don't. They don't want to talk about. It. Like, no, you have to let me know, because
yeah.
those guys won't come watch you unless they know they have a chance. How do they show you?
Well, I think there's a couple of good ways, at least for me personally. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong and different. I'm just talking about us. I think
Mhm.
one of the good ways for a young kid is if they send us an email that doesn't look like a form email. It's just like, like when I don't get we always laugh. Like there's one particular school in the SEC. I'm friends with that staff, and sometimes I'll end up getting hey coach so and so. I'm like, well, I'm not coach so and so, so I'll send a screenshot to them and laugh. But when it's not a form email, you got like maybe a link to a swing or a pitching delivery, and then like hey, this is my high school coach or travel coach, like that information in there. Those are the things that hit us.
Mhm.
um like for me, when I get a lot of the recruiting service stuff that's like I feel like it's just spam, like I'm just deleting out of that. When I feel like it's more personal and direct, that's when it hits me. And I think that's a great way for us to know that, hey, this kid has real interest.
And I've said it on here before, like with some Twitter DMs, like, hey, it's nice to like, hey, send one every couple weeks. Oh, here I had a couple hits in
Yeah.
this game, like a
Yeah.
recap, versus every net bullpen that you were thrown into, or like, hey, we don't need this every day. Like that's too much. You're a cross off. I'm moving on.
Yeah. And I think it's just feel.
Mhm.
I appreciate if it's a DM of a tweet that, hey, coach, I was at such and such event and went, this is the PBR video of me going 3 for 4 with 2 homers. Like, I appreciate that. It's quick, it's to the point, and it puts that kid's name, because that's the one thing about us, like as coaches or as recruiters, you remember swings, deliveries, names. Like, there's just a recall with that. So I don't mind that at all. I think that's a good thing. But to your point, you got to have some feel. Um, you know, probably 27 direct messages in a month, maybe a little excessive.
And then having your Twitter, this is something going off on a tangent, me getting on a soapbox with, but you almost use the Twitter as your resume. This is kind of your
Mhm.
LinkedIn, putting stuff. I went 5 for 7 this weekend at the Prep Baseball National Championships at Lake Point. Here are 2 of my swings. Putting that onto your Twitter timeline and tweeting it, it helps it. So when Coach Laugh, oh, this guy wants to
Yeah.
go, oh, I'll start scrolling. Man, he had a good week. He's having a pretty good summer. Now I know I'm going to go to this field. And even to that point, if you're ever pitching, like just send it over. I'm starting on field 9 at
Yes.
8:47. We are wearing the gray uniforms.
Yes. That's accurate. I mean, it helps. It shortens the time that we have to spend in preparation if we know exactly what's going on, when someone's pitching, when someone's playing. But even to you, like on the offensive side, like if you just keep getting tweets that this guy's like hitting homers, start
hmm
thinking like that guy's pretty good. I mean, we're human. That's just human nature.
Yeah, I will say this is a public service announcement. I guess one of my it's not even a pet peeve. I just think it's always funny when kids will like tweet out their home run like number 1, and then like
Yeah.
number 2 doesn't happen for another 7 weeks. And I'm like, hey, bud, you don't need to count these.
Yeah.
You're not hitting enough to
Yeah.
count them.
Yeah, if you're one of those guys that's going to get to like number 19, hey, that's impressive. But if it's like, hey, here's number 1 in March, here's number 2 in mid-April. Yeah,
It
that's rough.
happens all the time, and I want to almost like call it, kid, and be like, dude, it post the home run, keep posting it, don't count them. We, we,
Yeah,
we don't need a sundial to count these now. Like we're
yep,
okay.
no
it's
doubt.
it is fascinating, like the future games, just how many guys are out there, and especially baseball guys, right?
Hmm.
I think coaches and scouts are so good at like having a conversation, but still seeing everything that's going on.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's important for parents to know, like, even when you think that a coach isn't paying attention, he probably is. And he may even purposely not be paying attention because he doesn't want somebody else to be paying
sure,
attention.
sure. I think there's a lot of times that we, as coaches, at least I've always thought like we can overdo it, like it's rocket science on figuring out if a player's good or not. I don't think it is, and I am certainly guilty of being the guy. And sometimes it's, if I'm being honest with you, calculated of just sitting behind the backstop and talking and running my mouth. My wife says I never shut up. But yeah, like I think parents wonder, oh, did he see that? Like, hey, listen, if it happened, we probably saw it. And I speak for not only us, but any other coach out there,
Mhm.
especially in that venue where like there's sometimes that we're a field and a half away, but you've just created an angle where you can watch the guy on that field and still be able to see what's going on over here. And you guys do such a good job with coverage. And I mean, even state by state,
Oh
like
yeah.
sending out some of, that's always the cool thing. Like I think I follow 50 million PBR guys because each state does a great job of putting out content for each kid. And so you're always kind of up to speed, aware, but it also lets you see like how kids move, like swings, deliveries, things like that, which I also think are valuable. So yeah, and it is funny to me. It's always the time in life that you look at things. So I've got a 12-year-old, and now like as he's going through baseball, and you look at how these parents sometimes approach stuff, and I
Mhm.
get it. I get it a little more as a parent that it's your kid, and you have so much, when I say invested, not financially, just emotionally, because you want your kid to be successful as bad as any, more so than anybody that will ever be a part of their life. And so I think there is some worry or some anxiety, but when you come to an event like that, um, there's a bazillion eyes on them. Like nothing's being hidden at all.
It's so I like now as a parent myself, this the same way. We're in such a critical business, right? It's a job to like
Mhm.
critique and do this stuff. And in the end, it's like the parents, they just want their kid to succeed. Like
Yeah,
they are here, and
yeah,
I can see a lot of them walking around nervously. I'm like, I'm going to be the same way. So
sure.
it's going to do it. Now, 20 plus years coaching. Tell me, has anything changed with the way that you evaluate and recruit, or how much have things changed, and
Oh
how have you
man.
evolved?
Um, I think things have changed dramatically and continuously over the last 5 years. And what do I mean by that? You've changed with roster configuration. You've changed with the financial component to it. You've changed with the portal and, player movement. You've changed with the amount that, agent and advisors have become involved in
Mm,
in summer league coaches. It's a wildly different world that we live in. And I say this, like, some of it's very positive. Like, I think everybody wants to get on the kick of the transfer portal and NIL and rev share and, oh, that's bad and all this. Well, there is some good to it too. These kids aren't going to have to leave college with student loans like I did. Like,
mhm.
I laugh, like, Tim Elko, Ole Miss legend, not only a great player, of course, he's a big leaguer, great human. He has a statue in our stadium, like a real statue, like a giant Tim Elko statue that he earned, and a national championship that he helped bring to this school and this community. And I laugh. I was like, well, he paid for that statue. Like, that dude probably spent over 125 grand to go to school at Ole Miss over his time, because we were in the partial scholarship system and he was
Yeah.
an out of state kid, and he was on, 40%, 28%, whatever it was, where he was paying a good chunk of money and he was here for a long time. So you just do the math. And that's the good in what's happening now, is these kids aren't walking out of here either having paid or having to pay back money to play, baseball. Because that was one of the big things for us for so long, that we were always so angry and frustrated about 11.7. Why is baseball blah, 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 blah. And now that's, I'm not saying at every school, at every level, but it's been alleviated. The kids financially are getting more than they ever have. Um, but when you go specifically to putting a roster together, it's changing from last year to this year.
Mhm.
Like, you're looking at, okay, we've got a 34-man roster except for DSAs. Well, those DSAs are going to kind of, I guess, trickle out of baseball the next couple of years, and you're going to
What
get
do you mean
really
by
down to
DSA?
designated student athlete.
Okay.
So, like, it's a 34-man roster, but because of the settlement last year, if you designated a kid, then that gave him essentially immunity to any type of roster
Oh, okay.
limits, because that was something that came down in the settlement. Because, okay, we're going to go from 40 to 34 last summer, then, man, you're going to just wake up and now you've eliminated 6 spots across,
Wow.
all of college athletics. That's, do the math on how many athletes that is. So they put in that provision last summer that you could designate a certain number of athletes, and
Hmm.
they are immune from those roster limits. Well, those kids are going to eventually graduate, grandfather out, get drafted. They
Mhm.
can't be in college forever. So that's how you stay above 34 players. Well, when you start getting down to that, closer to that 34 line, man, you got to be pretty specific on what your needs are. Meaning, you if you wake up and you don't have enough catching or enough shortstops, or you're too light on the pitching, like, it really gets, siloed into what you have to have. I think two-way players, if they can really do it, become even more valuable. And I think you've got to be pretty specific with how you go about recruiting.
The versatility to me seems like it's really, growing in importance. Like, you can play
Yes.
shortstop, but he also plays center field. I've been seeing a lot of kids like that versus the opposite of guys are like, I don't do this. I don't
Yeah.
play X. It's like, well, you better learn how, because if your stick's not pushing its way in, like, you better get in the outfield, buddy.
Well, no, I think you even look at it like in our 26 class that we just signed. There's some really athletic kids in there, some guys that can play the middle infield, guys that have played other positions. There is that versatility because, like this year, I think, we have 38 players on our team. We had 17 position players. Um, well, when you look at that, like, we had a couple guys dinged up at the end of fall, and not anything particular, like, hey, I've got a hamstring or my
Mhm.
wrist is bothering me a little bit. Nothing that's going to keep them from playing or significant injury, but hey, I can't play for a week or two in the fall. Well, now having an inter squad game gets really tricky. So, like, when you start talking about depth and what you're trying to do and how you're building the team, it's going to be interesting in these coming years how people recruit. And, that's just, you get to the summer, and the summer is, for us, I say a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It is, like, let's just call
Gauntlet.
it what it. Yeah, it is. Like, you're trying to get through this portal window, and that's going to be a shakeup and figuring out roster. Then you get to the draft, and the draft is going to rake through, not only your current players but also your signees, and so it just creates a lot of I guess turbulence and uncertainty when you're trying to get to August with a good roster set in place.
Well, for all the stressors, you seem very calm and poised at all times. I'm sure that passes down
Sure.
from Coach Bianco. And honestly, in this era of portal, which you guys do such a great job bringing freshmen, laying the foundation. If you look back, you talk about Tim Elko, all those guys from that 22 team that were such great foundational pieces from freshman year straight through. Is it important to have Coach Bianco kind of setting the tone and just having a good culture of consistency? How important has that been?
I think it's everything when you start talking about this league and what we try to do as a program. And that's who he is as, I mean, obviously as a coach, but as a person.
Hmm.
And we want to do that. You go back, you're talking about high school athletes. I mean, we firmly believe that you have to have good high school players. Like I think if you're, for us, like we're going to have a good crop of them every year, but you have to have balance nowadays. And what I mean by that is you I don't foresee us ever just going completely portal heavy, but I don't ever see us going completely high school heavy, because you can't wake up in this league and be a bunch of freshmen and sophomores either. Being super young, that's not a good formula. Like I always tell people, like it was, I believe 2017 season, we welcomed in the number one recruiting class in the country, had them on campus. That was Greg Kessinger, Thomas Dillard. It was that whole crew,
Oh yeah.
and we had five freshmen at times starting in our lineup, and one starting on the weekend. And you're talking about guys that have been in the big leagues, guys that were first rounders, so on and so forth. 2017 was a tough year for us. Now it helped, and you springboard to 2018. We were national seed, and those guys were sophomores, really, really good with some older players. But it's hard to be that young. You're going to have, and because you can have so much movement, you're going to have some 21-year-olds, some 22-year-olds with a lot of college at bats and innings under their belt to provide, hey, this experience of going through a college season.
The message boards don't care if you're a year away.
Yeah, no, they don't. Not no. But if you suck, they let you know. The way it
Well,
goes.
Lap, this has been awesome. I know you guys got a lot going on in Oxford, some big things. Hopefully this spring, I'll be watching every game because I always have the SEC network on out here on the West Coast for those early games. But I got to finish up with two questions for you.
Shoot.
These are brought to you by shop.prepbaseball.com. Check out all the gear on the site, some really good stuff, including that hat right behind me. I need two spots. I have never been to Oxford.
Okay.
I need a coffee spot, maybe a nice little mom and pop shop, little pastry action walking in. I need a coffee shop, and then I need,
Okay.
where are you taking me to dinner to say Oxford's the best?
Oh man.
Oh, toughest question
There
of the whole show here.
that is, and I am a food guy until I had kids. Then I just eat Chick-fil-A and Chipotle all the time. Uh, all right. Thinking about a coffee shop like Bottle Tree Bakery on the Square is really
Ooh,
good. It hits Oxford. It's
writing this
great
down.
coffee. It's got good food, good vibes. Now there's several around town. That one sticks out. And now I've got to ask you, what kind of meal do you like?
Well, the one thing I'd say, like, I'm from North Jersey. Like, I'm probably not going to have Italian in Oxford, so if you can steer away from
Sure.
any Italian action. But like, I'm coming in, good ambiance. Where I'm going to go travel back to the West Coast and be like, hey, I think you need to consider Ole Miss.
Um, the grill house has a really good steak,
Okay.
and is a really good steak. Now, I'm a huge fan of Lenora's.
Ooh,
Um, it has some Italian to it, and then it has steaks and fish, and it's got a really really cool atmosphere, and it's right off the square. And they do a great job of taking care of us. So I'll give you a few options. Breakfast place. That if you're coming to the South, one thing is a breakfast place, and so
yes.
BBB, Big Bad Breakfast is great. We'll put some pounds on you, man.
Well, you know what? This sounds like I need to come in for a full series. So just
You
book
do.
me for 3 nights.
We've got a pretty good slate. Our as it always is. Our SEC schedule is a good one. So
Well, there you go. You might see me in Oxford, or I may just be at BBV for breakfast and then taking a nap.
There
We
you go.
shall see. Well, Lap, this has been awesome. This has been another great episode of Recruiting Essentials here with Ole Miss's Carl Lafferty. And until next time, we will see each and every one of you at the ballpark.